Hey guys, in this video we are going to collect added rooms in groups depending on their locations and adding them in clusters on the map, and we can navigate using these icons to see these rooms. So if we go here to Mumbai, you can go down to see the added rooms here, and it depends on the location how close these rooms grouped in one cluster. These are the rooms added here, and from here you can see the details as well. So let's get started to work on that. Let's go to our server side and go to the room controller. We need to add here new controller. We will call it getRooms, and we are going to wrap it with our function try-catch to catch any errors. It is a sync function. We will receive the request and the response, and we are going to request the rooms from MongoDB database using our room model, room.find, and we are going to order them from the new one added to the old ones. This is by passing the ID to b-1. Then we will send a response with status 200, success true. Result will be the rooms we just received. Let's save and go to the router. We'll create a route here for get requests, and we will pass our function getRooms. And let's go to client side. We need to go to room actions, and we are going to add a new action. We're going to call it getRooms. It is a sync function. We will receive the dispatcher to update state in the global context. We are going to add it later. We are going to call it rooms, and we are going to send a request to fetch these rooms using our function fetch data. We're going to pass it URL. This is our URL. We added it before. And the method in this case will be get, and we are going to pass the dispatcher as well, because we need this dispatch in our function fetch data to dispatch alert if there's a problem or error. And if we received a correct result, we are going to dispatch an action type update rooms. We are going to create this action in a moment, and the payload, it will be the result. Let's save and go to global context, and we are going to add here a new state or variable, rooms. The default value is an empty array, and here we are going to add a new action to update this global variable. Case update rooms. We will retain the same state, and we are going to update the rooms with the payload we received in the action. Let's save and go to our clustered map component. And let's extract the rooms from the state and the dispatcher as well, using our hook use value. And let's use effect in the first render to fetch our rooms. We are going to send the request using our action getRooms. It's not imported automatically. Let's import it here. And let's pass it here, the dispatcher. And let's add another use effect. This use effect will depend on the state of the global rooms. And let's console log these rooms to check if we receive these rooms correctly from the server. Let's save and check. Let's open the console. And here is our rooms. Let's go back and delete this. We don't need it anymore. And let's import React map.jl from our package React map.jl. And let's add it here. This will render our map. And let's add its props. First prop is initial view state. You can give it any latitude you want. I'm going to give it these numbers. It is London. And let's pass it the MapBox access token. We will fetch it from our environment variable map_token. And let's add the map style. We're going to choose MapBox Streets version 11. Here's our map. These are default margins added by the Explorer. Let's go to our index.html file and set them to 0. Let's add here style for the body, margin 0. And let's save and check again. Now it is perfect. Let's go back to our clustered map. And let's install new package, SuperCluster. This is the SuperCluster. First we need to create a new object from the class and pass it default radius and max zoom. And after that we need to load our points, which is the rooms, after we format them in the right format. And using the same object we will call getClusters and pass it the bounds. This array is the bounds of the map. It is from the bottom left corner to the right top corner. And this too is the zoom, is the default one. So let's go back and import the class SuperCluster from the package SuperCluster. And let's initialize it here. We're going to create object from this class, new SuperCluster, and pass it the default radius for the icon. We're going to make it here 75. And the max zoom will be 20. This is the max zoom that cluster will make clusters from the points. And let's create multiple states will be used by this cluster. The first state is points. And the default value is an empty array. Let's copy it for clusters. Points is the rooms in different format only. And the clusters will be created by SuperCluster. And let's add another state for the bounds. And the default value, let's copy it from the SuperCluster package. Let's paste it here. And the last state for the zoom. Zoom and set zoom. and we are going to give it a default value of 0. And here we need a reference to control this map. We need to add it in the global context because we are going to use it later by the filter. So let's add it here. MapRef equals useRef. And let's pass it here in the context provider. Now let's go back to our component and extract MapRef from the global context and add it here. Here in this use effect, depending on the rooms, if there is any change in the rooms, we are going to loop through these rooms and create another format for the points, type feature. This format required by SuperCluster. And here we are going to add our properties. Cluster is false. It is single point. That means it is room, not cluster. Room ID, we are going to extract it from the room object. Price is room.price. Title, room.title. Description, room.description. Longitude is room.longitude. And latitude as well. Images of the room and the avatar of the user. And the last one is the name of the user. And here let's add the geometries. Type is point. And coordinates is an array of longitude and latitude of our room. Let's use here parse float to make it a number. And after changing the room's format, we are going to set our state points to this new points array. We need another use effect. This use effect will depend on points state, zoom, and bounds. If there is any change in any of these states, this use effect will trigger and create new clusters using this SuperCluster. First thing, we are going to load the points using SuperCluster.load. And then we are going to set our clusters according to the documentation. You can see here first loading the points, then get the clusters. So SuperCluster.getClusters, we're going to pass it bounds and zoom. And to extract the exact bounds of the map, we are going to use our MapRef. And we are going to check if this MapRef is already assigned to a map. We are going to set bounds to be mapref.current.getMap.getBounds. There are two objects. We are going to change them to arrays. Then we are going to use a flat to merge them in one array. And here on zoom end, when the zoom of our map changes, we need to change our state zoom. Then after that, that state will trigger updating the clusters. So we will receive the event E, and we will set the zoom math.round, and we will pass it the zoom inside our event. This will change the zoom, and zoom will force the SuperCluster to update the state of the clusters. Here let's loop through our clusters. we will receive a single cluster. We are going to extract cluster. It is false or true. That means if it is a cluster, it is true, and if it is single point, it is false. And we are going to call it as a cluster not to confuse it. And the point count, how many rooms or points in this cluster. We are going to extract it from cluster.properties. These will be injected by SuperCluster. And we will extract longitude and latitude from cluster.geometry.coordinates. And we will check if it is a cluster, if it is true. We will retain a marker, this marker from React map.jl. And because it is loop, we need key here. Let's call it cluster-cluster.id. This is from SuperCluster. And the longitude is the longitude we've just extracted from the coordinates. Latitude is the latitude as well. And let's build the cluster icon. Let's add div. We need class here. We're going to call it cluster marker. Let's add the CSS or the styling for this class. Let's create a new CSS, cluster.css. And let's add the class here. Font color is white. And the background, we need it to be blue. Border radius 50% to make it a circle. Padding 10 pixels. Display flex. And we will justify content to be center and align items to be center as well, to centralize the number of the rooms inside the circle. Let's go back to our component and import this CSS file. And let's continue building our icon. Let's add here dynamic style for the height and width. This width and height will depend on the number of the rooms. So it will be dynamic. Point count divided by the whole points. And we are going to multiply it by 20. You can change the number here. It depends on how big you want the circle to be. And let's copy it for the height. On a click, we are going to extract the zoom from SuperCluster. We are going to check if there is zoom provided by SuperCluster depending on the cluster ID. Otherwise, we are going to use our default 20 for the zoom. We are going to pick the minimum value of them. Then we are going to change the view of the map depending on the zoom. Map.current.fly2. Center is the location of the cluster. And the zoom we've just extracted in a speed of 1 second. And here let's add the number of points or the rooms. This is only in case it is a cluster. Otherwise, if it is a single room or point, we are going to retain the avatar of the user. So let's use the marker here. And let's copy the same props. We're going to change the key here. Let's call it room and add the ID of our room. We stored it in the properties. Here let's add tooltip to show the name of the user. Let's import it from Material UI. Title equals cluster.properties.uname, username, and let's put inside it the avatar of the user. Source is cluster.properties.uPhoto, and we are going to use a component paper to add some shadow to the icon or to the avatar. Elevation for the shadow is 2, and let's save and check. And here is our clusters. Let's check here. It is working fine. And now in Mumbai, it's perfect. The name is shown and the avatar is working perfectly. But if we go here, here's the icon of our user or the avatar. If we change the profile of this user, let's choose another image and change the name and update. And let's go back to our cluster. Is the old information of the user. We need to update that inside the records of the room. So let's go back to our server side. Let's go to our controller user. And here we added this before. We need to update the records of the rooms when we update the information of the user. So let's send request to MongoDB using our room model. Let's import it. Room.update many. We will search by the ID of the user. We extracted this from updated user after we updated his or her information. UID is the ID of the user, and we will update the username. It will be the new name of the user, and the photo, it will be the new photo URL of the user. So let's save and check again. Let's update the profile of the user. Choose a new image and change the name, and let's update. Let's go back to refresh. Now if we go to the same room, now it is the new information. It's now working perfectly. And it is the same information here. In our next video, we are going to work on this pop-up. When we click, it shows the details of the room, the images in a slider, and the title, the description, and the price. And when we click on this pop-up, it opens more details of the room. And we are going to work on this filter. How to filter the room depending on the price or on searching when you search for different city or something. And if we go to the map, the same filter is working here. And here we can search, for example, for Mumbai, and it is filtering the rooms to be only the rooms in Mumbai. And we can even further filter these rooms depending on the price. And this is what we are going to work on in the next video. So see you guys in our upcoming video.